thanks go out to our premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline, and welcome to Ben and Woods, the president of baseball operations, general manager of the San Diego Padres. AJ Preller is with us this morning here on 97.3 The Fan. AJ, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, AJ, so today is, it feels like one of those days where the entire fan base is listening. You usually feel that around the trade deadline around here as well. But I thought a good place to start was just kind of by giving you the floor a little bit, just for a minute, to kind of address the legion of disappointed Padre fans that definitely expected to be sitting in a better position than 7 games under 500 at the halfway mark. So if there's anything you wanted to say to Padre fans out there, what would it be?
No, I mean, I think from my standpoint, ultimately, I'm responsible for the for the product, the team, and what we see, and I think we all feel it. I think from my standpoint, it's we're frustrated because we feel like we have a team that's played with one step away from the World Series last year, and I think from our standpoint, expect to build on that this year, and it hasn't happened for us so far in the first half, and I know myself and Bob and the group, every single day we're doing everything we can in terms of like asking questions, and like expecting us to play better baseball here in the second half. And I believe in this group, I believe in this team, and I know we have, and I saw it, we've all seen it here, that we have the ability to play good baseball, and I think we're all frustrated when we don't do that. And I think from my standpoint, understand that. Expect things to change here going forward, and expect us to get in a position here where we get into the race and eventually play in October, and that's the goal here going forward.
AJ, oftentimes a struggling team, the blame ends up on the manager. I know it's always not one person, but with the New York Mets, Buck Showalter just got a vote of confidence from Steve Cohen for the rest of the season. Can you say the same about Bob Melvin moving forward?
Yeah, Bob's done a lot of winning. He's been through a lot of pennant races and guided his team in the postseason. I think he got us where we needed to be last year, and one step away from the World Series last year in the LCS. And I fully expect him to be the guy that leads us back into the postseason here this year.
Talking to Padres general manager, president of baseball operations, AJ Preller, here on Ben and Woods. AJ, we brought in veterans. We have veterans here, yet seemingly every day the veterans are asked, what's wrong with this team? Why isn't it clicking? And really no one has the answers. And what is the explanation behind that? Veteran leadership typically can right the clubhouse, and at what we're seeing on the field, the inability to string together even 4 wins in a row. It's certainly frustrating for fans. I know it's frustrating for the players, but why can't anybody pinpoint what exactly is going wrong?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we, I think probably like the biggest thing, like so far in the first half, we win games as a team and kind of that collective fight, as a group. I think that's, we've got to get better from that standpoint. I think, offensively, we know we have guys that have a track record and are capable of, generating runs, putting pressure on the opposition. We just haven't done it well enough here so far. I think a lot's been made of, in big situations, runners in scoring position, et cetera. We've got to get better there, clearly. And, I think, again, from our standpoint, like baseball, it's a pitch to pitch battle. And and ultimately winning and then doing the little things from a pitch to pitch basis, maybe making a good decision on a strike zone, or maybe making, to win those, those pitch to pitch battles. And we just haven't been good enough so far at it in the first half of the season. I think, to me, focusing on tonight in Cincinnati, how do we win those battles every single pitch? I think, with our roster and our ability, I think we get focused on that. And I think you'll start seeing, good games, good innings, build on good games, and then eventually winning streaks coming. And has been our focus here lately. We just haven't done it well enough, honestly.
And you talk about, and at what point though does that feel like, all right, man, 81 games have passed and we're still not winning pitch to pitch, and at what point does you say we got to try something else or someone else? I don't know. It's frustrating to watch. Are you seeing the fight from this team that you expected?
Yeah, I think like overall with the group, I know, I believe in our team and our group, and I know that we have a group that can, that needs to perform better, and I think from our standpoint, I think for my job, it's asking the questions of the players, asking the questions with our staff. That's to me like the biggest thing is like, look at ways that we can do it better. We're constantly every single day talking about it, and again, like I do feel like, baseball overall, it's the first half hasn't gone the way we wanted it to go, but in terms of, having the people in that room, that, from a coaching standpoint, from a playing standpoint, they've done a lot of winning in the last couple of years, and a lot of guys that have done a lot of winning over their careers. And we're going to rely on those experiences, and ultimately, I do feel like we're going to play better baseball here going forward in the second half.
AJ, let me get into some specifics on how that might happen. You mentioned runners in scoring position. How about your team's lack of success against fastballs this season? The numbers are out there, pretty shocking. Do you have any theory as to why so many of your players are struggling well below their career norms hitting a fastball this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, like it starts with, you've got to be ready to hit a heater, and to hit fastballs. I think we've seen some improvement over the course of of the last month or so. But no, I mean, I think from our standpoint, that's where it starts. That's the foundation of it. And I think we talk to our hitting group and our hitting coaches about we're looking at mechanics, looking at body positions, looking at different ways to get ready to be prepared for that. Again, I think from our standpoint, we know we have guys that have hit fastballs and can hit fastballs and are capable of it. But again, like we're gonna from our standpoint continue to uncover and look and get better from that standpoint. And, I would expect that to improve here overall in the second half of the season.
And I want to believe you because I love this team. I do. And I know that the guys have a track records, but expecting it to happen and then seeing it happen, I don't know, I've never worked in a baseball team. I don't know how you can tell guys to just go hit the fastball. I don't know. I don't know what plan is in place, AJ. But I know that the fans certainly expect more. I know the players expect more of themselves. Do you feel like right now, do you feel a little bit like, because, you definitely probably feel the crosshairs on you from time to time. Do you feel like you're playing for your job right now?
I mean, again, I think the focus for us is the game tonight in Cincinnati. I think again, like from our team and our standpoint, like I'm constantly asking questions and looking at it, and again, like I expect us to play well. I expect us to play in October, and I think the biggest thing that we can do right now is go out, win a game tonight in Cincinnati, get ready for the Reds tonight, and then, get ready for Saturday after that. And that's the overall focus for everybody in baseball ops and what we're trying to do. And again, I think from that standpoint, I think, we're looking at every single day, how do we get this thing in a better spot, a better position. And that's the focus that I have right now.
I get it. It's the one day at a time adage.
And AJ, I respect that. I wouldn't expect anything less than you to continue to believe in your players. You brought them in for a reason. They have, as you said, they have backs of baseball cards, and you hope that they can do it. But there is a trade deadline coming up. It's not imminent, but it's a month away now. At what point do you have to change that belief and face a realization that, maybe you might have to start trading away and retool, whatever you want to call it, retooling, rebuilding, pivoting? How do you make that decision and not be clouded by how much you like these players and this team that you put together?
No, I mean, obviously, like, the next month will tell us a lot. And I think, from our standpoint, the attention right now is continue to look at this team playing into October and continue to look at ways to improve the roster, and get the team in a spot where we win a lot of games here in the second half. And, again, like we'll see how things play out. And when we get to, throughout the next month, if things change, and we'll pivot from that standpoint. But right now, again, the feeling with our group is we're capable. We last year played deep. We've been in the postseason a few times, and like I think from our standpoint with the trade deadline, it's about, the focus about how do we add to this roster? How do we add to this group? If, we get to the end of July and it's not in that spot, then we'll be ready to pivot if we need to.
If you want to add to this group, knowing that the best you'll probably be, even if you play well this month, is still just in a wild card race, are you prepared to trade top prospects like Jackson Merrill if necessary, or is that something that you are not ready to consider based on how this team has played so far?
I mean, I think it all depends on, where you're at. I think obviously we made the Soto deal last year. We felt like we had a team that, at that point in time, may not been leading the division standings, but we felt like we had a team that could play into October and, decided that was a move that we wanted to make. I think, from our standpoint, we'll be prepared. We'll be ready to do what we need to do. But, again, like we want to, you want to see, the team respond and play well. And I think at that point in time, we'll make decisions that are best for the organization. It's not going to be about, it never is. It's never about, hey, this is a short-term decision. You're constantly looking at what's best for the long term, what's best for, the rest of the season, and what's best for, over the course of the next, 5 years. And, we expect to be competitive for a long time. So I think we'll factor all of that in when we get into the deadline and make good decisions.
So, the one thing, talking to AJ Preller here on Ben and Woods this morning, the one thing I think Padre fans fear is you can't do your job from a fear perspective, right? I got to do this to save my bacon or whatever. You have to make smart, strong moves. But could you stomach, and could the locker room stomach, selling off 3-4 valuable pieces, guys that are already in the locker room now, AJ, that frankly are good baseball players that could help another team win a title if we're not in a position to make a run? Could you stomach that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've shown, different deadlines. I think we've at different deadlines we've stood pat. At different deadlines we've made small acquisitions. I think at different points in time we've made bigger acquisitions. And I think, from our standpoint, we have a good group and, in scouting, we have a good group in the front office, and that will weigh out all the different possibilities. And again, like I think the focus for us right now is, getting back in the race, winning games. We believe in this team and this group and the roster. And, I think from our standpoint, that's the biggest focus. If it doesn't, again, if that doesn't happen, we'll reevaluate that over the course of the next month and make decisions that are best for the organization, top to bottom, over the next few years.
I'm going to just put this one kind of bluntly because a lot of fans have been asking us this question. AJ, do the Padres have a problem with player development, both on the minor league level and on the major league side, when guys get here and don't perform as they have performed in the past with other organizations?
I think from our standpoint, we've developed a lot of players, and I think we made a decision a few years ago to turn a lot, some of the minor league prospects and players that we've had. I think we look up and, in some of these deals, some of the consolidation deals, you look up and, it's Blake Snell, or it's, Yu Darvish, or Joe Musgrove, or Josh Hader, or Juan Soto. And I think the ability to, you've got the ability to find players and then develop them. I think that enables us to make those deals. And I think ultimately, the idea there is you've got to have, impact players, and you've got to have depth and quality. And if you're going to win a World Series, and that's the focus for us, is to win a World Series. And in order to do that, we've made some deals to get to the roster that we have currently and whatnot. And I think from that standpoint, again, I feel confident in our ability to, develop, sign, and, get players to that position. And, again, I think we see it every single day, and, sometimes it's in players that have come up through the system. Sometimes it's in players that we've used to make trades. And, I think from that standpoint, there's, I think that's, I have a lot of faith in our coaches and our scouts. And I think we've shown the ability to continue to reload the system and feel like the system's in a good place right now. And I would expect to continue seeing players that give us those options and, make decisions accordingly.
AJ, you said you think that the system's in a good place right now. And I know, sometimes injuries happen. They happen to the best of teams. It happened to the Rays, it happens to the Braves. You got to be able to pivot and go to what you have in your minor league system. And I know the lower levels of the system look good. Are you at all concerned with the higher levels of the system right now and the ability to have if a guy goes down, somebody can come up and fill that spot immediately?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, like you've got to be able to, I think from our standpoint, we've had some guys that have come up, and fill different roles. We've got guys like Steven Wilson and Tom Cosgrove and in the pen. Again, there's a lot of different ways from a depth standpoint, and we're constantly talking about ways to, make the roster better and make the club better from a depth standpoint. Again, like, I think from a system standpoint, I heard some of the talk a couple of years ago that, hey, like, what about the depth of the system? And, we look up, and last year at the deadline, we were able to make some deals and obviously go get Hader and Soto and guys like that. So, I have a lot of faith in like our development and scouting group, at the top levels. I feel like we have some guys that have stepped up and helped us out this year and, contribute to winning. Injuries happen, like, they happen for all teams. So I think you want to be as prepared for that as possible. And, again, I think the biggest thing is you got to get your players that you're expecting to play well, and I don't, when we played the Rays, you look up and, it's guys like Wander Franco and Rosarena and others that are, Shane McClanahan, those guys they're playing at a high level. And I think from our standpoint, we have guys we know are capable of playing at a high level. And I think that's probably going to be the biggest thing in the second half, is seeing them get to the point that we know they're capable of playing at. And when we do that, we're a really good team.
And we all know that Manny is one of those guys. And last season, I know Manny doesn't talk about injuries. He played through what apparently was a pretty horrific ankle injury and still put up MVP type numbers. And this season, those back of the baseball card numbers aren't there. Is there anything that you can share with Manny about why you think he's going to turn it around? Anything that we haven't been aware of that might explain why he's had such a slow start to the season this year?
No, I mean, obviously he had, the hand fracture, the finger fracture. I think, that part, again, Manny plays, Manny posts every single day. I think, all players, they're, you play 162 games, you're going to have different things that you play through. But again, like, Manny Machado is one of the best players in the game of baseball. I think over the course of the last 3 seasons, for us, he's been an MVP caliber player. And, I think for us, like, one of the comforting things over the second half is, guys like Manny and I think getting him to the spot that he can play at, I fully expect him to be able to do that. He's working every single day. He's trying to, make sure he's putting himself in the best possible position to play. But again, like, I think from his standpoint, he knows, like, he wants to grind this out and win. And he's a very talented player that has a big time track record. And, we have talented coaches that are, like, looking at every possible way to get him in a real spot to play well. And I expect him to play very well in the second half of the season.
AJ Preller on with us, Ben and Woods here on 97.3 The Fan. Ben asked the development question, and I will ask the question about culture, AJ. Lots come out recently. I know, I know it's made its way into the front office as well. The culture of the San Diego Padres, and I hate to paint with a broad brush, I do, but one of the things people were kind of DMing me were like, man, you got to ask why guys come here and don't perform sometimes to the back of those baseball cards, which they'll reference from time to time. What is it about the culture? Is there not a desire or a need or a burn to win here, where it does seem like sometimes guys come here and fall off a little bit? And what can you say about the culture and some of the things that have come out, recently about the way business is done?
I mean, again, I think we have a group that, we've been in the playoffs a couple of times in the last few years. And, you look at players that have come maybe from other organizations, guys like Jake Cronenworth that have turned to all-stars. You look at Josh Hader, you look at Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, Blake Snell. I mean, these guys are, again, like they're performing, and they've performed over the last few years. Again, I think our group, it's, these guys work very hard. They're a very competitive group. We played, one step away from the series last year. That doesn't change overnight. I just, again, like, I know ultimately in baseball, we're all feeling the frustration. Like I feel it every single day. But again, like I know, the way we've built it, it's a group that works really hard. We have an aggressive group overall. And, I just think as we go through the second half of the season, that's going to show out. And, I think, again, like knowing the character and makeup of these guys and their ability, I think that's gonna show out for us here as we get into the second half.
Yeah, and I think that's what Padre fans want to hear most of all is some sort of reassurance, right? That hey man, this is not the 2023 San Diego Padres what you've seen in the first half. And it's got to be different in the second half.
Yeah, that was my last question for you, AJ, because I feel like I hear from the fans most of all. They look at guys like Xander Bogaerts signed for 11 years, but not performing yet. Manny extension, not performing. Jake gets an extension. He's having a rough start, and they're worried. They're panicked, AJ. They look and think, oh my God, is our future doomed because of this? What can you say to reassure, if anything, fans that just because these guys aren't doing it and they are going to be here probably for a very long time, that it doesn't tank the future of the San Diego Padres?
Yeah, again, I think again when you have talented players, baseball is it's a tricky game, and I think again like the season is not just 80 games. We play 162 for a reason, and I think from our standpoint, it's going to be a focus on tonight, and it's going to be from our side, we're going to do everything we can to get this team in the playoffs to do what we need to do to get there. And again, knowing those individuals, knowing those players well, knowing our staff well, again, I feel like we have a group that we showed last year. It wasn't always a straight line to the LCS, and this first half has been a struggle. We understand that, but I think from our standpoint, like believing those guys, we invested in them because we know their abilities and we know their character, and it wasn't about just 80 games. It's about over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. We think they're going to give us an opportunity every single year to play into October, and I think the fans understand that and know that. And now it's about like trying to figure out ways to get them to play like we know they're capable of. And again, like I think the reassuring part is they've shown that as recently as as last year. So I have a lot of belief and faith in that group, and again, I'm from my standpoint going to continue to push every single day and continue to ask questions of myself. It starts there, but I do expect us to play better, in large part because I believe in the players that are in that room.
AJ, thank you for coming on, talking to the fans directly, for giving us a bunch of time right there. I do respect that, and I do wish you, of course, and the Padres the best of luck going forward. We want to see nothing more than this team turn it around and get back in it and win a championship. You know that we do. So thank you, sir, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Thanks.